Greetings there. This is Ujjval from GNA, Geo-Negative Axis, the GNA Institute. I am the institutor of GNA. Whenever you need GNA to be instituted, doctrines, books, I am the person. So we have my book today, and we have Srimad Bhagavatam, and we have Srimad Bhagavatam 10th Canto. So we're going to go into some nectar today. Nectar. First, we're going to the Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. How was he, Srila Sukadeva Goswami, the son of Vyas, recognized by the citizens when he entered the city of Hastinapur, now Delhi, after wandering in the province of Kuru in Jungala, appearing like a madman, dumb and retarded? The present city of Delhi was formerly known as Hastinapur, because it was first established by King Hasti. Goswami Sukadeva, after leaving his paternal home, was roaming like a madman, and therefore it was very difficult for the citizens to recognize him and his exalted position. He was a great emperor and possessed all the opulence of his acquired kingdom. He was so exalted that he was increasing the prestige of the Pandu dynasty. Why did he give up everything to sit down on the bank of the Ganges and fast until death? How was such... Wait a second. Well, we skipped something. How did it so happen that King Parikshit met this great sage, making it possible for this great transcendental essence of the Vedas, the Bhagavatam, to be sung to him? He, Sukadeva Goswami, was accustomed to stay at the door of the householder only for long enough for a cow to be milked. And he did this just to sanctify the residence. It is said that Maharaj Parikshit is great first-class devotee of the Lord, and that his birth and activities are all wonderful. Please tell us about him. And he was a great emperor. He possessed all the opposites of the kingdom. He was great, exalted. So why did he go to the Ganges to fast until death? Sukadeva Goswami is talking about Parikshit Maharaj. If you don't understand who Parikshit Maharaj is, it is basically the ending of the era, right? The Bible explains as well. The Genesis explains. I just mentioned Genesis yesterday. Right? So the Genesis explained yesterday that the Lord changes ages on these planets, right? The Lord. So the new age was coming in that is more fallen. People are more fallen in this age. You have to understand the age you're in. So the previous age, 5,000 years ago, onward, about 5,100 years ago, onward, people lived up to 1,000 years. Some of them could even live longer than that because they became, great mystic yogis. And they had a little bit different about. We were talking about this today too. Also, somebody, actually in a church, about how about how Adam and Eve were made. How the mud, God blew life into the mud, and He made man. So man is a different object, right? A little bit different than these beings, right? Well, actually a lot different in certain senses and values and existence. I say values, I mean like the bodily structures of what they're made of, right? And the demigods and these other beings, they're made of more pure material, whereas we're made of more ignorant material. That's what the difference is. So they'll be made more of could be compressed air. They could be more made of light, even compressed light or held light. They could be made of. That was actually mentioned in the movie Cocoon, where they had the light beings say to somebody. But human beings are we're matter and water. So kind of like mud, right? Very similar. That's interesting how they knew that. So at their precipice, there was a King Parikshit who was at the very precipice that he saw the personification of the new age that was dawning. he saw the personification of it, and it was a grotesque, foul, demonic being that came out. And he said, "You can't stay here. You're gonna ruin everything. You know, you're gonna ruin my kingdom." And and then the personification of the age said, "Where will I go? This is the age, you know, and this is it. I'm sent here. I'm sent here to wander and corrode everybody with quarrel." So, in other words, so Kali Yuga started like this, called Kali Yuga, the age of Kali, because of quarrel. And he said you could reside in 4 places where there is intoxication, people getting drunk. You see them all fighting all the time. Drunkards could fight all the time, right? People eating too much carnivorous foods. When I say too much, meaning if you don't need to eat it, don't eat it. You don't live in the jungle, you should eat it. This causes so much passion and ignorance today. When you have passion and ignorance, and you get madness. So today we see people are eating ignorance. If you're eating dead things like that, that's called ignorance, actually. The body is ignorance. The body is also ignorance. So if you're eating someone else's body, it's like ignorance. Seriously, it's accustomed to ignorance. It's not in the mode of passion. Fruits, for instance, are in the mode of goodness. Certain foods are in the mode of goodness, but meat happens to be in the mode of ignorance. And it gets more ignorant as it's meat that's not should be eaten, like mammal meat and stuff, like cows. That meat is really bad for the body. Clogs up people's heart. They can't even digest it. You could look at the animal, right, and you can see it's a thicker coat. It's a thicker animal. For you to put that through your body, it takes a lot of work, and that's what ends up happening. Instead of digesting normally 3 hours, a piece of meat could take 8 hours. So that's why meat felt good. And then not only that, it can bring quarrel very easily. You see, very easily people can quarrel. People can enjoy quarrel so much. And then if they mix it with sex, next thing is sex. You can stay where sex is, he told them. Stay where sex is, because why? People get miserable, and then they would do what? Blame the next one for that, blame the kids even, blame the father, or your father-in-law, or your mother-in-law, or your ex-boyfriend, or your and then before you know it, where's the paradise? Where's the romance? The honeymoon? So, that's the life we're in. This is the Kali Yuga. But, and then one more place, gambling, money. Now, gambling was set aside because gambling can cause huge quarrels. People lose their empires. People lose their lives to gambling. And it's not like nowadays where, you would lose and it would be like, you can't necessarily take over Hollywood casinos because that would be a heist and that would be illegal, right? But in the old days, so you would gamble, and that could lead into a large fight because you could want your stuff back. You could say, hey, can I have my stuff back? Can I just give you this? I need this. No? All right, we're going to have to fight. You know what I mean? That's how people get. So that's how it was back in the days. So gambling was actually, and it still is, it could be still to this day, a big problem. But one more place, money. But money's involved in all of these. So money is also part of this. So money itself, when you mix these, you'll see quarrel can come very easily. Very easily. When there's money involved with relationships, quarrel's there. Oh, who controls the money? Sometimes it's smooth, it can happen, but very easily there can be an argument, right? And so you have to avoid these things because they're embedded in this stage. So that's what they're talking about. Sukadeva Goswami now, who was going to instruct this Parikya Maharaj about what? In this age, though, that's the downside of this age. But in this age, what is good in this age? You can get devotion, love of God. It's called prem bhakti, loving devotion for God, very easily. Not very easily, like like it's so easy I could do it overnight, like, oh, I'm a master lover or something. No, it's not like that. But for what it used to be, it's a lot easier in this age to get, because in the previous ages you had to really show yourself. You had to do a lot of a lot of penance, a lot of sitting in one place for, could be decades, could be hundreds of years even, yeah, to really prove yourself like vast in devotion. But in this age, if you just apply yourself to chanting and following the principles, and not making offenses at devotees, that's the most important thing. Don't quarrel, don't beat on, don't rob, don't shed on, don't harm, don't kill devotees of the Lord. Don't kill anyone. For instance, anyone is innocent, for sure, right? You have to defend yourself, like physically, someone's coming after you. That might be another story. But in the event of it, don't kill. And it says that in the Ten Commandments, don't kill. So the quarrel has to be stopped. Don't kill, don't fight. If you don't quarrel, if you're not a victim of this age, then easily you can take advantage of the good thing of this age. And you can get out of this cycle of birth and death, samsara. You know what they did do on this planet? They put down all the way into the Arctic, the ice beds, all the way down. We're talking about 1,000 feet into these ice rocks, ice beds, huge in the Arctics. And they brought back samples of it, and they charted, and they found marine life thousands of, millions of years ago. Okay, was there, that isn't there now. There was a different climate, it was a different world even millions of years ago. So don't think that you were just born yesterday and this is all new and this is your only life, and oh my God, you gotta have children and you gotta have this and you gotta have the money. You gotta go. If you don't have it, it's all over, right? No. The least you have, the more negative you have, actually, Geo-Negative axis, speaking of, it could be the better off you are. Because you can have this, God, Krishna, the Supreme Lord, in your heart more. So never look at that as a downside. I don't have, I'm negated, negative this, no. That means that your heart has a spot now for the Lord. And He might have even arranged it that way for you, by your luck, to get out of this samsara and to go to the eternal worlds. Because here is not eternal, and there is eternal. And not only is it eternal, it's limitless. Like that movie Limitless? That's the real limitless, heaven. The real, not like here, not like you just guess the right stocks and all that. No. We're talking about you can create beings. You can, with your art of mind, create, food and flowers and other beautiful things that exist out there. That's the kind of, existence we're talking of. Not just creation, but accessibility, mobility. You can move around. You can experience what life really should be full of, right? We think. And we race to that, right? We don't have wings, but we race to get a plane, right? We don't have vision or psychic abilities, so we can't think about each other in different places, but we have phones now. So you know what I'm saying? So we have everything, but there's no limit, and it's beyond your imagination. So here we have a little bit, right? Even if you discover this whole world, you'll find so many different things, so many varieties of life, so many different customs, so many different, let's say, colors of flowers and other things. But there, it's limitless. So we can't even imagine what it is and how much greater it is to go to heaven. We can't imagine it, but we can't really understand it. So we should, because it's so great. See what I mean? So therefore we should surrender to it and not be like, oh, I just want to be in these worlds and believe in what suits me, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of people out there that are ready to surrender to God, but not give up their ways because it doesn't suit. And then when it comes to part ways, my old bad ways or God, they go their bad ways. Too many people like that these days. We got to give that up, people. But here, let's read a verse from Krishna, because that's what I'm saying. In this age, if you do little service and you do it right because of faith, because gods are not here, the test is harder. There's no clues. There's no hints everywhere. There's a sun. That's a big hint. There's a God. He's creating in front of you. There's a moon. There's a big hint that there's beauty beyond this world. There's a beautiful ocean. That's another hint. But there's no God right before you, right? So, with faith, it goes a long way in this age, people. Okay? So have faith. Have faith. That's the main thing. And now we're going to try a verse from this. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And it says, Krishna chastises the serpent Kaliya. Exuding poisonous waste from his eyes, Kaliya would occasionally dare to raise up on the heads, which would breathe heavily with anger. Then the Lord would dance on it, subdue it, forcing it to bow down with his foot. The demigods took each other of these exhibitions as an opportunity to worship him, the primeval personality of Godhead, with showers of flowers. My dear King Parikshit, Lord Krishna, wonderful, powerful, dancing, trampled, broke all of Kaliya's 1,000 hoods. Then the serpent, profusely vomiting blood from his mouth, finally recognized Krishna to be eternal personality of Godhead, the supreme master of all moving and non-moving beings. Sri Narayana, thus his mind, Kaliya, took shelter of the Lord. So, he was exuding poisonous waste from his eyes. Kaliya would occasionally dare to rise up his heads, which would breathe heavily with anger. And there the Lord was dancing on it. So Krishna's dancing on Kaliya's head, right? So all the Vraj is there. They're all like, oh my God. Everyone's, people have died. Like some animals have died from drinking in the river. There's tragedy in Vraj right now. Tragedy. And Krishna, all of a sudden, comes there. He stops this demon, and he's like, listen, demon. Well, he didn't say it, but he's like, I'm gonna show the inhabitants that their love, I love their love. It's unbounding, and I'm gonna dance for them a little bit. And he went up there and danced, and everyone saw it, and they're like, oh, Krishna, he's taking care of this. And then Krishna gave him the punishment. He broke his hoods. He cracked them. Cracks. As he stepped, he cracked them. He broke his, like he could feel the power of these hoods. This is like, these guys were like, they were mixed with demigods. And they were also serpent hybrid human, kings that could turn into full serpents also, something like that, right? So, basically that's what it was. So this Kaliya was in his serpent form, and he was just poisoning. He had many thousand hoods he could make. Okay? He could spring. You can't even imagine how big they were, first of all, too. So Krishna himself was 20 feet tall, about 18. So we're talking about a kid that was probably about 8 feet tall. So it was a little bit, the dimensions are a little bit hard for us to understand, but it was a previous age. This is right at the cusp of the end of the previous age, but they were still living 1,000 years, as the Bible explained. Abraham, living that much, the next much, and then 1,000. Similar. So they were still big, and Kaliya must have been, who knows? We're talking about a serpent that was maybe 100 feet big, and his hoods, were like 50 feet wide, something like that. Huge. And Krishna's up there, 8 feet tall, just dancing like a little kid, playing his flute, doing beautiful gestures, but at the same time crushing all, fracturing, let's say, all of his hoods, so that he's just being disassembled. And then boom, he just collapses and he just gives up. And he prays to him, realizing that he is the Lord himself. So that's the great pastime of the Lord we should remember. Remember the greatness of the Lord, that he came here and did these beautiful pastimes. It's not like we just don't have nothing to meditate on or nothing to think about. He gave us these beautiful pastimes. And when we hear them from the pure devotees of the Lord, we get so much faith. We get so much power and merits. It's unbelievable. It's unimaginable, actually. That's how much the Lord benedicts those who recite these great pastimes, believe it or not. We're not just